At my mother's anniversary dinner, my husband stood up, smiled at everyone, and said he had fallen in love with someone else. That someone was my cousin. Before anyone could react, I calmly picked up my glass and said, "Before you judge me, please check your phones. I sent you something." The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. It took me a long time to tell this story. Not because I was afraid of the truth, but because the truth changes you. And maybe if you're listening right now while fighting your own quiet war, this will remind you that silence doesn't mean weakness. Before I begin, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. Your presence here means more than you know. My name is Naomi Carter. I'm a corporate compliance auditor. My job is simple. I investigate fraud, track patterns, and prove intent. I don't guess. I don't accuse. I document. I never imagined the most important case of my life would be my own marriage. The dinner was supposed to be joyful. My parents' home in Plano, Texas glowed with warmth, soft jazz playing, the smell of rosemary chicken filling the air, laughter bouncing off walls that had witnessed decades of family history. I had made dessert myself. A layered chocolate torte my husband claimed was better than therapy. 7 years of marriage had taught me how to read Evan Carter's moods. That night he was calm. Too calm. He sat at the head of the table, confident, relaxed, fingers resting lightly on his wine glass like a man in control of the room. Across from him sat Lydia, my cousin, my childhood shadow, the girl who used to borrow my clothes and my secrets. She wouldn't meet my eyes. That's when I knew. Evan tapped his fork against his glass. "I need everyone's attention," he said, smiling. My mother froze mid-step. My father lowered his fork. Conversations died instantly. I felt nothing. No fear. No shock. Just confirmation. "I didn't plan to do this tonight," Evan began, voice steady, practiced. "But honesty matters." He glanced at Lydia. "I'm filing for divorce. And Lydia and we're in love." Gasps. A chair scraped. Someone whispered my name. All eyes turned to me. They expected tears. Screaming. Rage. Instead I nodded slowly. Then I said the sentence that would end everything. "Please check your phones. I emailed you 10 minutes ago." Evan frowned. Lydia's face drained of color. "What did you do?" she whispered. "Nothing," I replied calmly. "I just told the truth." 8 years earlier, Evan wasn't a villain. He was an ambitious financial consultant with crooked smiles and nervous energy. We met at a leadership seminar in Chicago, bonded over bad coffee and better sarcasm. Our marriage wasn't flashy. It was steady, or so I believed. The cracks didn't look like betrayal at first. They looked like family. When Lydia moved to Texas after another failed relationship, I was the one who convinced Evan to let her stay with us. "She just needs time," I said. "She's blood." Evan hesitated. That was my first mistake, ignoring hesitation. What followed was subtle. Late nights. Shared jokes. Glances that lingered half a second too long. I trusted them. Because I trusted myself. The truth didn't explode into my life. It slipped in quietly. One evening, while reconciling our household finances, I noticed repeated transfers, small amounts always the same, moving out of our joint account. Hidden. Deliberate. I followed the trail. That's what I do. What I found wasn't just an affair. It was planning. A second phone. A shared savings account. Messages discussing timing, family reactions, how I'd be framed as emotionally distant. They weren't in love. They were strategizing. That's when I stopped being a wife and became an investigator. For 3 months I smiled. I cooked. I listened. While building a case that would collapse their entire story in one night. They thought the dinner was their moment. They never asked why I looked so calm. After that first discovery, time stopped feeling normal. I still woke up next to Evan every morning. Still drank coffee from the mug he bought me in Seattle. Still listened to Lydia hum softly in the kitchen while pretending not to notice the tension coiling through the house like exposed wire. They thought I didn't know. That was their biggest mistake. When you work in compliance, you learn something early. People reveal everything when they think they're safe. I didn't cry. I didn't confront. I didn't change my routine. Instead, I watched. Evan became careless. Not sloppy, just arrogant. He believed he was smarter than me. That belief gave me access. He left his tablet unlocked while showering. She synced her phone to the house Wi-Fi. They reused phrases, dates, patterns. Affairs aren't romantic when you see them as data. They're repetitive, predictable, ugly. Lydia started staying out late. Gallery events, she'd say, slipping on lipstick she never wore around me. Evan started traveling for work twice a month. Same cities, same hotels, same excuses. I built timelines. I cross-checked expenses against lies. I mapped locations against alibis. What hurt wasn't just the betrayal. It was the coordination. They talked about me like I was a problem to solve. One message still burns in my memory. Evan. She's too logical to explode. We just need to guide the story. Lydia. By the time she realizes, it'll be too late. They weren't afraid of my emotions. They were afraid of my mind. I decided to probe. One night, while we were washing dishes, I said casually, Lydia's been really happy lately. Evan froze just for a second. Oh, he replied. That's good. Too quick. Too rehearsed. She deserves stability, I added. Someone honest. Lydia dropped a plate. Shattered. They both looked at me like I'd fired a warning shot. I smiled. Picked up a towel. Cleaned the mess. After that night, their strategy shifted. Suddenly, I was the problem. Evan sighed more. Acted distant. Started hinting that I was cold. Married to my work. Emotionally unavailable. Lydia backed him up. You don't open up like you used to, she told me one afternoon, voice sweet with poison. Evan worries about you. Worries. The audacity almost impressed me. They were laying groundwork, painting me as unstable, disconnected, difficult. Classic narrative control. And it confirmed something important. They weren't planning to leave quietly. They were planning to destroy my credibility. The backup plan. That's when I created the archive. Encrypted. Time-stamped. Backed up in 3 locations. Every message. Every transfer. Every contradiction. I even recorded a few conversations legal in my state. Not because I wanted revenge, but because truth deserves witnesses. Then came the moment that erased my last doubt. Evan sat me down one evening, face heavy with fake concern. I think we need space, he said. You've changed. Changed. I nodded slowly. And Lydia offered me her guest room, he added. Just until things calmed down. There it was. The script. I agreed. That night, as he slept peacefully beside me for the last time, I finalized my plan. Why I chose the dinner. People ask me why I didn't confront them privately. Why I waited. Here's the truth. Liars rely on isolation. They rewrite reality one person at a time. I needed everyone to see the same truth. At the same moment, without filters, without spin. That's why I chose my parents' anniversary dinner. A room full of witnesses. A single narrative. No escape. The night before the anniversary dinner, I didn't sleep. Not because I was nervous. 'Cause I was alert. There's a difference. Evan had already moved out. Officially to get space. Unofficially, he was living with Lydia. The house felt hollow without him. Quieter. Safer. At 11:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. It was Lydia. Lydia. Hey, can we talk tomorrow before the dinner? Just us. I stared at the screen for a long time. This wasn't guilt. This was damage control. I replied with one word. Sure. Seconds later, another message appeared. Lydia. I don't want things to get ugly. I almost laughed. The next morning my mother called. Her voice was careful. Measured. Sweetheart, she said. Evan stopped by yesterday. I closed my eyes. And he's worried about you, she continued. He says you've been withdrawn. That the separation has been harder on you than you're admitting. Of course he did. Preemptive sympathy. Narrative insulation. Mom, I asked gently, do you think I'm unstable? Silence. No, she said finally. Why would you ask that? No reason, I replied. Just checking. After we hung up, I added a new folder to the archive. Exhibit M, manipulation of witnesses. We met at a quiet cafe near the house. Lydia arrived 10 minutes late, strategic. Keeps the other person off balance. She looked fragile. No makeup. Oversized sweater. The performance of remorse. I never wanted this, she began, eyes glossy. I said nothing. She leaned forward. You and Evan were already falling apart. There it was. The rewrite. I just think announcing things tonight might be traumatic for you, she added softly. Maybe you shouldn't come. I met her eyes for the first time. You're worried about me, I said calmly. Yes, she breathed. I am. I took a sip of my coffee. Then you should tell Evan to check his email, I said. Her face went white. What email? I smiled. You'll see. She left without finishing her drink. The near disaster. At 3:12 p.m. my phone buzzed again. This time it was my secure server. Upload failed, temporary outage. My stomach dropped. The emails, the scheduled evidence delivery, hadn't gone through. Years of professional habit kicked in. No panic. Only options. I checked backups. Checked timestamps. Checked alternatives. Plan A was down. Plan B was manual. Slower. Riskier. But effective. I packed my laptop. Walking into the lion's den. The house was full when I arrived. Laughter. Music. Smells of roasted meat and vanilla candles. Evan and Lydia were already seated together. They didn't hide it anymore. That was the point. When Evan stood up with his glass, I knew the moment had arrived. He spoke about honesty, about truth, about following the heart. The irony tasted metallic. Then he said it. And the room turned toward me. I didn't rush. I didn't tremble. I reached into my purse, opened my laptop, attached everything, and pressed send. Phones began buzzing. Gasps followed. Evan's smile collapsed. The first phone buzzed. Then another. Then another. The sound spread around the table like falling dominoes. Sharp, unavoidable, final. Evan's confident posture stiffened. What's going on? He asked, forcing a laugh. No one answered. My cousin Trevor opened the email first. His brows knit together as he scrolled. Then his mouth fell open. What the hell is this? He muttered. My aunt gasped. My mother's hand flew to her chest as she stared at her screen, trembling. Lydia leaned over Evan's shoulder, reading fast, too fast. Her lips parted but no sound came out. Evan finally pulled out his phone. The color drained from his face. The evidence speaks. I thought you all deserved context, I said calmly, folding my hands in my lap. Receipts. Timelines. Messages. Financial transfers. Edited emails that were meant to make me look unfaithful. All organized. All verifiable. Evan looked up, eyes blazing. You invaded my privacy. No, I replied evenly. I documented shared accounts, shared devices, and conversations conducted in my home. There's a difference. My uncle, a retired CPA, cleared his throat. Why is there a second savings account in your name, Evan? Silence. And why? He continued, scrolling. Does it line up with withdrawals from Naomi's joint account? Lydia reached for Evan's arm. Please, she whispered. Say something. He couldn't. The lie finally dies. My mother stood. Her voice shook, but it was sharp. Sasha. She stopped, corrected herself. Lydia. You used me. Lydia's eyes filled with tears instantly. I didn't mean to. You lied to me, my mother said. You told me you were helping Naomi. You told me you were protecting this family. My father rose slowly. He didn't shout. That was worse. You planned this, he said to Evan. You planned to humiliate my daughter publicly. Evan swallowed. Sir, I never. Enough. The word landed like a gavel. This is selective evidence, Evan said desperately. She's emotional. She works in investigations. She sees conspiracies everywhere. I stood, looked at the room, then at him. I included everything, I said, including messages where you discuss when to tell them, where you agree I should be framed as distant, where you joke about how easy this would be. I paused. Scroll down. They did. The room changed. I loved him. Lydia cried. You can't help who you fall in love with. Trevor snorted. You can help lying for 2 years. You can help stealing, my uncle added. And you can help trying to make your cousin look crazy, my mother said, her voice breaking. Lydia looked at me. For the first time, no mask. Say something, she whispered. I met her gaze. I just did. Picked up my purse. I didn't come here to argue, I said softly. I came so the truth wouldn't be buried. I turned to my parents. I'm sorry this happened on your anniversary. My father wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Walk with me, he said. As we stepped outside, the door closed behind us. Muffled voices rose inside, confusion, anger, fallout. The storm had begun. Outside, my phone exploded with messages. Support. Shock. Apologies. Inside that house, 2 people were watching their carefully built lie collapse in real time. The guests didn't leave all at once. They drifted out in silence, coats grabbed, goodbyes skipped, eyes avoiding Evan and Lydia as if shame were contagious. By the time the front door closed for the last time, the house felt poisoned. Only 4 people remained. Evan, Lydia, my parents, and me. No music. No laughter. Just the low hum of consequences settling in. When the mask slips, Evan turned on me the moment the door locked. You planned this, he hissed. You wanted to destroy me. I looked at him carefully. No, I said. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped protecting you. My father stepped between us. You don't raise your voice at my daughter in my house. Lydia sank onto the couch, shaking. You promised, she whispered to Evan. You said she'd never do this. He didn't look at her. That's when she understood. The phone call. My uncle, the CPA, had stayed behind. He cleared his throat. I need to be very clear about something. Evan looked at him warily. There's evidence here of financial misrepresentation, he continued. And possibly fraud. Lydia's head snapped up. Fraud. Yes, he said. Funds moved. Accounts concealed. Taxes not aligned. Evan's face went ashen. You said this was just between us, Lydia whispered. Evan finally looked at her, and in his eyes there was calculation, not love. I took a breath. I'll be filing for divorce on Monday, I said. With cause. Evan scoffed. You think this email dump gives you leverage? I slid my phone across the table. A message from my attorney. His jaw tightened. You already did this? I didn't rush, I said. I prepared. My mother covered her mouth. My father exhaled slowly. Lydia stood abruptly. You said you had this handled. Evan snapped. Sit down. She didn't. I gave up everything for you, she said, voice cracking. My reputation. My family. He stared at her coldly. I didn't ask you to. That was it. The illusion shattered. She laughed once, hollow broken. You're going to blame me, she said. I see it now. Evan said nothing, which was answer enough. Walking out for good. I grabbed my coat. This is the last conversation we'll ever have, I told Evan. Any further communication goes through my lawyer. I turned to Lydia. You wanted my life, I said quietly. You can keep the pieces. Then I walked out. The door closed. And with it, the woman I used to be stayed behind. But the story didn't end there. Because consequences don't arrive all at once. They arrive in waves. The first post went up 3 days later. Evan didn't name me. He didn't have to. A long, carefully worded thread about being married to someone emotionally unstable. And how men suffer in silence. The comments filled fast. Sympathy. Support. Stay strong, King. I watched without reacting. Because this was predictable. And already documented. When silence becomes strategy. My lawyer called that afternoon. He's making statements that contradict sworn financial disclosures, she said calmly. That helps us. Good, I replied. Log everything. I didn't respond publicly. That made him louder. Another post. Then an interview request from a local business blog. He painted himself as the victim of a cold, obsessive wife. He underestimated one thing. People who know me. The professional fallout. On Friday morning my phone rang. It was an old colleague of Evan's. Off the record, he said. Is any of this true? No, I answered. But the evidence is. 2 hours later, Evan's firm placed him on administrative leave. By evening, 3 clients had requested new counsel. By Monday, his name was quietly removed from the website. Lies don't die loudly. They suffocate. She showed up at my apartment at 9:06 p.m. No warning. Mascara streaked. Hands shaking. He's turning on me, she sobbed, telling people I manipulated him. I didn't invite her in. You helped him, I said evenly. I know, she cried. But I didn't know he'd do this. I tilted my head. You knew exactly who he was. You just thought you were exempt. She collapsed against the wall. I don't have anywhere to go. I paused. Then I said the only honest thing. That's not my emergency. The legal knife twist. 2 days later, my attorney called again. We found something, she said. An email Evan deleted. But it lives on the server. She forwarded it. A message Evan sent to his firm's finance department. Route the bonus through the secondary account. She doesn't check it. My hands were steady. My voice was not. That's criminal, I said. Yes, my lawyer replied. And it changes everything. The call he never expected. Evan called me at 11:58 p.m. from a blocked number. I answered. Please, he said. This is getting out of control. I closed my eyes. No, I said softly. This is control. He swallowed. I'll do anything. I ended the call. Evan thought survival meant silence. He was wrong. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not physically. Emotionally. No drama. No shouting. Just the quiet, clinical sound of truth being processed. Evan sat at the defense table in a suit he used to wear when he wanted to look trustworthy. It didn't work anymore. The moment that ended it. The judge flipped through the exhibits. Paused. Looked up. Mr. Harper, she said. You will answer the questions directly. Evan nodded too fast. My attorney stood. Exhibit 42, she said. The deleted email recovered from the firm's server. The screen lit up. The room stilled. The judge read silently, then longer, then exhaled. Counsel, she said. I'm ordering a full forensic audit. Evan's lawyer leaned over, whispering urgently. Evan didn't whisper back. He stared at the table. That was the moment. Not when the gavel fell, but when he knew there was no version of this story where he won. Lydia's final collapse. Lydia wasn't in the courtroom. She didn't need to be. Her statement arrived instead, through her attorney. A carefully worded attempt to distance herself. It didn't work. The paper trail didn't let her. Within weeks, her job restructured. Her social circle went quiet. The calls stopped coming. She texted me once. I didn't think it would end like this. I never replied. The quiet victory. The divorce decree arrived on a Tuesday. No ceremony. Just signatures. Assets divided. Accounts returned. My name restored. When I walked out of the courthouse, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt light. What I learned. Revenge is loud. Justice is quiet. Revenge wants applause. Justice wants closure. I didn't win because Evan lost. I won because I stopped shrinking. Months later, I stood in my kitchen. Sunlight pouring through windows that used to feel like walls. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. You look peaceful. I smiled. As I was. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is tell the truth and walk away.